All right, I'm going to talk about just real quick a review on this recent shooting, and I'll periodically put updates so you can kind of get an idea on kind of what I'm seeing from a cop perspective, basically what the media is lying to you about or manipulating or whatever, because there's a shooting, and if you want to look it up for the people that's not here in the U.S., there was a shooting where a guy went in and shot a TSA agent. He had a so-called assault rifle. He had a rifle that he used in an assaultive manner, but they want to call it an assault rifle. He could have went in there with an assault axe or an assault car or an assault fire extinguisher filled with poison gas. There's a whole bunch of things he could have went in there, but he went in with a rifle, so it had to be an assault rifle. So if you read the article, kind of what happened, this guy goes in here with a gun, he pulls out a gun, he shoots some TSA agents because they treat the American citizens like shit, and he was probably pissed off, and he's like, you know what, I want to die, whatever. I don't know the background of the guy. I just want to talk about the tactics of the cops, and there was some comments about conspiracy and whether or not this was staged. So a guy goes in the building, pulls a gun, shoots some people, the cops chase him down and shoot him, and the chief does an interview, and I'll try to put a link to the chief's interview in the description. And the chief says, you know, we just trained this 3 weeks ago. And there's some people out there saying, oh, it was staged. See, they trained, they knew it was going to happen, now they staged it. I don't believe that. Cops are usually, I mean, there's a lot of crooked politicians, there's a lot of crookedness in government, but most cops are decent people, and they really don't want to go out there and kind of plan to shoot somebody. Now, could there be special little groups? And yeah, I believe that. But in this case, remember, a secret or conspiracy, the more people that know, the harder it is to keep it a secret. And in this case, with the cops saying, the chief saying, we just trained for this, it's normal for cops to do training of events that they might likely to encounter. If I'm working, when I was with Vallejo PD, we used to work with the Coast Guard. And so the Coast Guard would patrol the waterways because we had waterways in Vallejo. So every once in a while, on busy days or high-risk days or something, they would put a cop, one or two of us, on the boat with the Coast Guard. So we had local police powers, and the Coast Guard had their federal whatever powers they got. I think the Coast Guard falls under Department of Transportation during peacetime. During wartime, they become part of the military. But during peacetime, I think they fall under Department of Transportation. They might fall under Department of Homeland Security now, since they had that big takeover. But regardless, the Coast Guard is kind of more of a civilian-oriented safety rescue, kind of taking care of our waters. Maybe they've moved into more drug jurisdiction or drug interdiction, and they kind of got into that. But for the most part, when we went out and worked with the Coast Guard, we kind of have to learn their laws. They would kind of have to learn how we operate, and it becomes a standard operating procedure. That's why you train to where if you're training with a group of people, the group of people need to train together to understand common words, phrases, and things that mean. So when this cop gets up there, the chief gets up there and says, we just trained on this, and our cops responded perfectly, and they did a great job, and they ran. Look, you're not going to see a police chief who has any sense at all get up there and go, damn, my cops all screwed up, man. They had bad training. They did the wrong thing. They killed these innocent. They're not going to say that, because if they say that, it comes back on them. When you see a politician or somebody that works or in charge of people praising these people, having a critical eye. I talk about my horse channel, when you're working with horses, you got to develop that critical eye in mind. You need to hear things for what they were, see the hidden meaning, see what it is. Remember, 90% of all questions are really a statement. When I ask you a question, a lot to 90% of them are because I'm making a statement about something, either to prove you're stupid, to prove you're wrong, to make my comment, to make my point. And it's not really a question, it's more of a statement. So when cops get up there, this police chief's praising his police force. They did so great, they did the best training. I really want to say what a good job. He's patting himself on the back, saying, these guys work for me, of course they're good, now I got to praise them. It would be stupid for him to go out there and say, these guys screwed up, blah, blah, because they're like, wait a minute, aren't you in charge of these guys? That's the critical ear and eye you need to look at when you get information from a government or any agency or any corporation. You know, a corporation is not going to make money if they go out there and go, man, we sure did. The people that developed this made a big, they really suck. They didn't follow, but they're not going to say that because it's going to be turned around and say, aren't you in charge of them? Now, if they don't want to get that question, big old hawk out there, I hope he's not going after my chickens. Sorry about that. Hawk just swooped down. I didn't know where my chickens were. So he's not going to say that information. So when you're listening to the news, when you're listening to somebody explain something, when you hear them either cracking on a cop or praising a cop, you need to look at why are they doing that. When Obama, the dumbass, gets on and starts talking about, oh, that cop was wrong and that was wrong, he's pushing his political agenda because he doesn't agree with what the cop did. Has nothing to do with right or wrong, whether the cop was acting appropriately. It has to do with the public opinion. So when you see press releases, when you see press conferences, you need to realize people will never say things normally against their own interests. That's why when somebody volunteers and it commits, that's why when we go to court and we have people testify, when somebody says, yeah, I was involved in this robbery and blah, 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 they're admitting that they had involvement. Therefore, when you make statements against your, what they call penal interest, against the penal code, against your penal interest, it's assumed it's truthful. Because most people aren't gonna make themselves look bad and say things against themselves. That would be kind of stupid. So they kind of assume that if you do that, 9 times out of 10, you're probably being truthful. Now, you can always bend that and kind of throw in a little something like, well, you know, I know I messed up and I probably should have done this better, to kind of give yourself credibility, but it really doesn't mean nothing unless, you know, what's the meat of the conference? This chief got on there and praised his police force and what a great job they did and how they shot him and how they stopped the assault rifle. And I saw a lot of different takes on Facebook, emails, the news reports on whether this thing was staged and why they did it, etc. Look, a guy comes in with an armed gun. Most cops are going to first draw their gun and protect themselves and then figure out if I could chase a guy or go after him. Some cops, we call them the 1%ers of the cops, are real meat eaters and they rush into danger. I remember when I was in an incident, we had 5, 6 people in a van and we're pulling up and we're doing felony arrest warrants. We were going out catching guys that are bad. We found out where they were. We put a list up. We set up in teams and we would go to these different houses and we were hitting them early in the morning. So 6 of us are in this van and we get out and me and my other buddy and this other guy were the first 3 through the gate, and it was a long gate way up to the house. And as soon as we pull up, the driver goes, target's in the front yard, male, blah, blah. He spits out a description, blue jeans, jacket, whatever. So we knew the suspect was there. So we all come out of the van with our guns ready to go. We're blazing. We jump out of the van with our police shit. Police, stop. And the guy sees us. Boom, heads in the house. Well, I was focused on the bad guy, and so was the 3 with me, and we all went in and continued to chase the guy. The other 3 cops, I won't say a road term as a cop is retired on active duty. He's just out there putting in his time so he can collect his pension, doesn't want to get involved, doesn't want to do paperwork, always the last one there. There was another incident in Davis where a cop pulled up to a robbery. The guy starts shooting at him. A female pulls in. As soon as the shots are fired, she puts her car in reverse and drives away. And I was like appalled that she left the cop getting shot at, but the agency was like, oh, well, she was a woman. If she didn't feel like she should take the risk, she shouldn't. But of course the media will play it up that, oh, we've got equal rights and more women are cops now and they're doing a great job. And come on, people, know the difference between lies. Anyway, back to the 3 people. We run in. I didn't see the dog. What ends up happening is the guy goes inside. He releases 2 pit bulls out. He attacks us. One attacks my partner. He's swinging. He got a pepper spraying gun in one hand. I end up shooting this dog. When I shoot this dog, his partner comes over. I have to spin and shoot him. I fire a multitude of rounds. Then I see the guy heading out the back door. So after I pick my buddy up from the dog bites, we run, we chase the guy, we grab him, we get him in custody. The 3 knuckleheads at the back that came out of the car with us never entered the area. They stayed on the outside of the fence. We had 6 cops. Only 3 of us went in, did what we needed to do, and caught the guy in custody. The other 3 stayed at the fence. And of course, what do? They stand back there and critique. I come back, 2 dogs are dead, one's kind of dragging off. I mean, I don't like shooting dogs, but these guys were pretty aggressive, and I was afraid this guy was going to get a gun and shoot us, so I had to shoot him. And I don't like shooting dogs. I'm not one of those guys that like shoot dogs. But anyway, these three guys want to go, oh man, you were spraying and praying. You must have fired 15 rounds. You went crazy with that gun. I go, dude, I fired 6 shots. I fired 3 at the first one, 3 at the other one. No way, man. All we heard was gunfire. You were going crazy. I was like, all right, whatever. So they get the guys, and of course the dogs, and one has 3 and the other has 2. I think I missed one either in the leg or went by one of the shots, missed him or bounced off his head or something. So I fired 6 shots. And for some reason, subconsciously, I knew that. A lot of times you don't know that. But for some reason, I said, man, I think I only fired 6 shots. I thought I fired 3 at each. And the guys who were with me, they didn't know because one guy was getting eaten, so he didn't know. He didn't care what the hell was going on. He just wanted this dog off his ass. The other guy, because I was in front, he was behind me, he couldn't engage, so I ended up engaging because I was the front one. Well, the other 3 guys didn't come in. That's what I'm talking about when you have cops, you have a group of people. There's always those that like to be afterwards, stand back, and talk about what others do. The old saying, the fans, it's always easy to sit in the fans and criticize the players because you're not a player, okay? It's easy to sit back there and say what the players are doing wrong, but you're not on the field. So it's always easy for other people, the media, administration, and other people sit back when cops are out there trying to react and trying to survive, to sit back later and, you know, armchair Monday morning quarterback, whatever you want to call it, and go, well, he should have done that, and he should have, and why didn't he, and blah, blah. So when you see things, when you hear news reports of a guy talking about what his agency did and how they responded, you need to realize the hidden agenda. If you listen to what the guy's saying, you can tell what path he's trying to lead you down. There was an incident right over here where a police chief, a cop shot a disabled guy, and it was a bad shoot. The cop shouldn't have shot him. He was wrong. But the first report, and there was another cop standing there, the cop backed up the other cop. And I get into this a lot with people about why do cops lie, why do cops tell the truth, blah, blah, blah. It's a very tough situation to know that these guys can save your life and to isolate them and to turn them in and to rat them out or to get them in trouble, knowing that the next night you may be on the radio saying, I need help, and they're sitting over here going, so? And I've seen it happen. I've responded to cops hollering for help getting their ass beat or in a shooting, and I'll pass 2 cops parked in the parking lot drinking coffee, and we're going code 3, and they're sitting there having coffee. And I'm like, that's messed up. And those guys are like, you know what, the guy hollering for help is a snitch. He ratted out some cops. We ain't helping him. So people talk about there's no blue line and cops don't do, believe me, it happens, and it happens all the time, and I've seen it 100 times. Cops don't talk about it because cops like to live with their badge, and they kind of like to hang into this theory that all cops are great and we're all great and we can't talk about anybody because if we do, that'll make us look bad. Look, I was a cop. I was a good cop, and I did a lot of good things. But you know what? I saw a lot of bad things. I saw a lot of bad cops, and I understand government from the inside out. I was in the military, I was in law enforcement. They're both government, paramilitary, para-government. They're all the same. I'm telling you, shit that goes down, people go that don't happen, it does happen. It's just very hard to have somebody speak out about it. And when you do, you get isolated and you get called names and you get, oh, you're trying to be Serpico and you're trying to do the. Look, I've stood up several times, not a bunch, probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 times, where it's got me in trouble because I said, that's bullshit, enough's enough, I'm not going to stand for that. But it's very hard to do, and you need to be willing to take the consequences. And the consequences are you don't get promoted, you don't get the good jobs, you kind of get isolated, you're kept out of things that they want to control because they don't want somebody that's going to say no. Cops, government, etc., military, they like yes people. They don't like no people. They don't like questioning people. They like being in charge and having the power. Don't question me. We have the authority. Go do it. Don't answer questions. Be a good team player. Well, I like thinking smart cops, smart people that kind of question and kind of buy in, and they actually believe in what they're doing because I think they do it better. So this police chief that was given this briefing on this shooting incident, look, he's patting his own self on the back. Every time he praises his troops, he's praising himself. You know, so I mean, did the cops do the great thing? Well, it sounds like it handled all right. I don't know if I think one cop got shot, one NSA guy. I mean, they got the guy in custody. I don't think there was a whole bunch of people shot, innocent civilians. So they did what they had to do. But is it black and white? Is it what you're seeing on the news that these guys are great and they trained for it 3 days ago and their training absolutely paid off, and they did? This chief was like, if you're listening to him, I'm like, dude, really? My guys did exactly like we trained, and they asked, and they heard that they came running, and I'm like, dude, whatever. You had some cops that were like, shit, there's shot fired, I'm staying here. You had other meat eaters that was like, shit, there's shots fired, let me go. You had some cops that were like, I'm gonna go in slow, I don't know why that guy's going fast, I don't want to get there first. So there's a multitude of cops that go there. So when some chief gets up there and goes, oh, my guys did perfect, they were the greatest things since sliced brother, oh man, I just loved it, it was great. All right, dude, whatever, you're tooting your horn, you're tooting yourself. Remember, our system and our society and our way of government and law enforcement is based on voluntary compliance. It's based on the masses voluntarily complying with the laws in the government. We volunteer to comply because when we go no, the government loses. When the masses and all the people say, hell no, enough's enough, the government knows it loses. So they have to make small increments in their power grabs, control, taxes, property rights, freedoms, slowly get the guns, use excuses. Over time, they can convince everybody to give up little until over a generation or two, it's a lot. But the new generation doesn't see it because they never experienced what it was. They only know what it is. And then the next generation doesn't know what it was. They only know what it is. And that's how it works in the progression of how, when you see a news media developing that critical eye and ear, what are you seeing and what are you hearing? Is everything a lie? No. Is everything the truth? Hell no. Is everything a conspiracy? Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't say yes or no. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So it depends on how big, where it goes, how deep, what are the consequences, what are the falls out. What's the problem? Remember, in politics, it's always about, it's not the action, it's the cover-up. That's what really irritates people. When you lie to them and do all that, and our government in the U.S. right now is just lying, they're being unconstitutional. I mean, it's just horrible. I can't even say I'm proud of being American anymore with our government that represents us doing the things they do. They don't represent me, I assure you. So, I mean, we have a number of people giving up their citizenship and leaving. That's never happened in the world. I mean, in the whole existence of America. Nobody would give up their America. And now we got people in droves saying, I'm getting the hell out of here. Our government's out of control. It's out of control because people don't pay attention and they buy in. They either swing too far left or too far right, and they buy into the fringe instead of kind of coming in the middle going, you know what? They ain't being 100% truthful. I shouldn't believe them. I shouldn't trust them. They've got their own interests involved. They're not going to say things that make themselves look bad. Our whole system is based on confrontation. We have different branches of service to create confrontation and challenge to prevent one person from having all the power. Well, in this case, the TSA was doing problems. This guy decided to kill himself. He wanted to do what's called suicide by cop. He went in there, he shot up. The cops responded, nobody hurt. Had a fairly successful outcome. Is it the best thing since sliced butter and this chief's the best chief in the world because he has the best cops in the world? I call bullshit, but that's just me. I figured I'd talk about this, and again, I'm always trying to get people into mindset, understanding what I'm saying, where I'm coming from. You can agree, disagree. It's from my experience and my life experience on where I've been, what I've seen, what I've experienced personally. So take it or leave it. Hope that helps. We'll end that there.